welcome to yet another episode of Mental Odyssey. My name is Sarah, and today I am joined by a very special guest, my friend Amy.
Hello.
Hello. Thanks for being on the podcast here.
Yes, I'm honored to be called a very special guest.
Very special guest. Yeah, I would say that, well, we're friends because of our husbands, basically. But yes. I think that we bonded a bit over wedding planning.
Yeah.
Because we both were like perfectionally stressed.
Yes. Yeah.
About the wedding.
Yes. And I wish we had met sooner.
Right.
Truly.
I agree.
Because I feel like we would be very tight friends.
Agree.
As opposed to like getting closer.
Right. Yeah. And what an unfortunate time to get closer.
I know.
To get closer.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm glad to have you here, and I'm excited to hear your answers.
Okay.
So you don't know what any of the questions are?
No, I have no idea. I'm a little nervous.
How fun. Okay, well, we're going to jump right in.
Okay.
The first question is how to handle rejection.
Oh, geez.
That has been the most common reaction.
I think my default setting is like, don't even put yourself in the situation to be rejected. But I would say that that's not the correct answer to that question. I don't know, because I'm trying to sit and think about it. I'm like, how many times have I put myself in a position lately where I would be rejected by something? And it hasn't been a lot. Right. I know when we're talking about healthy ways to handle rejection.
Whatever the answer is what I'm interested in.
So like in March of 2022, I got laid off, right? And I had worked for this company for a really long time. So it like broke my heart.
Obviously, yeah.
And I applied to so many jobs. This is the most recent time I can think about having been rejected from things. And it was really hard. And I think in that scenario, kind of what kept me together and not take it super personally was the fact that like I still need a job, so I need to keep going and find something and like keep going back to what my strategy was, like AKA my like resume, and refining it and like trying my best to get a job. So like
changing the words so it reflects what they were asking for in the
yeah, I don't know. It was really hard. It was, and I want to say I did not handle it well, and I don't handle rejection well, and that's probably a lot of where like perfectionism comes in as well.
For sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
Like I think I do my best to like do everything correctly before getting the chance to be rejected.
Right.
So yeah, I don't think I can give like a solid...
It's like rejection is not an acceptable response. Like I'm not actually going to seek out anything that is going to get me rejected because we don't go there.
Yeah. Like, so I got my degree in creative writing, right? I don't write at all. And I loved writing.
Right.
I did. And I think a lot of it is because I have some fear around like writing something bad, right? And then I'm like, what's the point? Because I'm not going to send it off anyway. Because I'm
just write it anyway,
I guess. But
it's hard.
It is hard, especially I don't know. I have a lot of feelings about it's like not being able to put things on paper, feeling like it's going to come out dumb, right? It's so weird.
Right. I've realized that perfectionism comes a lot from viewing life from kind of like a third party perspective for me, where it's like, how would somebody view this, right? Like if somebody was watching me right now, like how would that be perceived? How would they like judge my work? Right. But like nobody's ever gonna see like that I'm scrubbing this very detailed area of the floor, but at the same time I'm doing it with the idea that maybe someone is going to like, I don't know.
Right.
That's kind of how it shows up for me, where it's like I am worried about those things, but in the grand scheme of things, nobody cares about the things that I'm worried that people care about.
Right. Yeah, mine's almost the same. Basically, it's like I don't like the idea of my name being on something that isn't as good as it possibly could be.
Right.
So, like, example, like, this is why Heath is good for me, because he's not like this.
Right.
We scrape the popcorn ceilings of our house, right? And so he was on one side, the tenant side, doing that, and I was on our side doing it.
Right.
And like, ours is immaculate because I went through like every like strip of ceiling, scraping it all off, and it's like perfect.
Right. You
The
go over
tenant
to his
yeah,
side.
it's good. It's good. No one would notice it if you
Right.
hadn't known what it looked like before, but I see it. I'm like,
You're like,
Right.
it's not what I
Yeah.
did on the other
right.
side.
And he's like, why did you do it like this? I was like, be quick over here. Don't like,
You're like, because I can't half-ass anything.
Right.
Because if my name's going to be associated with it, it better be damn near
right.
perfect.
Yes. And that's, I hate that I'm like that.
Right.
Because I feel like it also makes me do less.
No, I so feel you on that. Like,
Yeah.
I sit here, I think a lot of it, like, I hold myself back from even starting something.
Yeah.
Because I'm, like, already judging myself on the outcome of it when I haven't even began the first, like, I haven't gotten past just, like, the thought planning process of it.
Yeah. No, I agree. And that's like the whole thing with writing. Like, I feel like my ideas are dumb. I also have like weird feelings about like cancel culture and like writing things. And if anything ever got out and people were like unhappy with it, like my life would be destroyed, right?
No,
like I'm worried
no,
about
I get that. I get that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why like content creating, it has to be really scary, but it's also probably really, I think it's really cool that you do it, honestly.
It makes me very nervous. Like the fact that we're on YouTube now, like I cannot tell you the amount of anxiety that I had just like creating the link to send it over to YouTube from Spotify. I was just like I don't know what the repercussions of it are. It feels very big to me and I don't understand it fully, which makes me reluctant to do it. But at the same time, it's like I have to push past that because this is my goal. Like this is what I want to do. I think that it's important to create this and like if this is what it takes, then I'm gonna push through some anxiety with it. But it took me a very long time from the time that I got my podcasting gear to the time that I uploaded my first episode was like 6 months.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it's so hard because I feel like the things that frighten me are like people judging the words I say and being like unhappy with it. And the weirdest thing to me is that like culturally we have moved to this point where like people legit ruin people's lives for stuff they said like a decade ago.
Right.
I don't know how anyone would want to continue to be a creator or an artist or something knowing that they could be held to such a high standard. It's like cultural perfectionism.
Yes.
Right?
It is.
Yeah.
It is. It's the only thing that's accepted.
Yeah.
It makes me overthink everything. And also like coming from a religious background where like you are expected to be perfect and nothing less. And like that has very much bled over into the way that I operate in life.
So I don't know about your religious background.
Oh, I was raised Mormon.
Really?
Yes. She says, let me interview you. Let me dig into that mind of yours.
By Mormonism.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah. So that drives a lot of it because as a kid, like I was baptized at the age of 8. And when you're baptized, you're told that all of your sins are going to wash away. Right. And I was like racking my little 8-year-old brain, like, trying to figure out like what did I do?
Yeah, what have I done at this point?
Like at that point, the worst thing that I'd done was just like take a piece of candy out of like those candy bins that they have at like Winco or whatever.
Right.
And my mom like brought the manager over and made me apologize to the manager. So like to me, I like wiped that one clean because I owned up to it. I did the whole like repentance stuff. So I was like, what sins at the tender age of 8 do I have to repent for? But that mentality stuck with me my whole life where it's like, you are nothing unless if you are perfect. You are nothing if you do not follow all of these rules, which I have spent a large amount of my life not following those. And it still kind of stresses me out a little bit.
Yeah.
Just because it was so indoctrinated in me to like be perfect and operate in such a way.
Does your family still practice?
Some of them.
Your parents?
One of them.
Yeah.
Well, I guess two, a pair, my dad.
Yeah.
My dad does, kind of, but my mom doesn't, but her parents do, and my dad's parents don't.
And your parents are, like, married still?
No.
Together? Oh, I was going to say, like,
no.
that would have to cause
that would be
a lot
weird.
of issues.
That would be weird.
Yeah. No, so, someone that I know has family members who the husband is not religious and the wife is religious, and it's like...
That sounds awkward.
One of those, but it's like one of those religions where there's very specific rules about things you can and cannot do. So I'm like, I just don't know how you would navigate that in a relationship.
It would be very interesting.
You'd have to, like, I feel like the person who doesn't practice and, like, doesn't give a shit about it.
Right.
Oh, I probably shouldn't swear.
No,
okay.
you can.
Okay.
That's what I have like 4 that I don't swear in. Okay. And that was like so my grandparents could listen to my podcast.
I feel like you'd have to give up a lot to be like, okay, I'm not going to celebrate any holidays anymore. I'm just fascinated about weird religion stuff.
No, I agree.
I was not raised any sort of religion whatsoever. I did have a weird little moment in high school where I was baptized even.
Interesting.
But it was to make my dad happy because I had totaled his truck. And yeah. And gosh, they get you.
Yeah.
They really do.
They do.
Mm-hmm.
They do. And they still do. I swear to God, they can still tell that I was like susceptible to a cult at one time because I get proselytized to. Is that?
I don't
like
by like missionaries?
Yeah.
Interesting. Like they
Often.
spot you. They're like
not necessarily like Mormon missionaries, but like it's almost like people can tell, I feel. Like I've had people that find out that I was raised Mormon and they're like, "Oh yeah, I could tell." And I'm like, "What the fuck does that mean?" What?
I don't know. I don't think I could tell.
Right.
Honestly, like with my bridesmaid, I could tell. Like I would, because I know, but also like what has happened since leaving, it's clear. Mm-hmm. But how old were you when you left?
13.
Oh. Yeah. How did you make that? Like, who decided?
Me. Okay. I always wanted to be in therapy of some kind. I knew that I needed an adult in my life to help me make sense of like the way bigger than what I knew how to handle emotions that I had as a kid.
Right.
And so I went to my dad being like, "Hey, I'd really like to talk with a counselor so that I can like get right with some of this stuff." This is after my parents had been divorced, which was kind of like the first strike for me because as a Mormon kid, I was promised that my family would be together forever.
Oh, I can't imagine them getting divorced.
It was a guarantee to me. It was like something that was like promised.
Right.
And so when that didn't happen, I was like, okay, right? And then by age 13, I'd known people that were gay, right? That I loved. I loved these people, and I just found out that they were gay.
Right.
And I was like, okay, this is kind of weird, the way that they talk about it, because I don't think that I should feel any type of way about these people just because of that fact in their life.
And like, if anyone who would choose to be like persecuted,
right? Exactly.
for
exactly
know, any
like
reason.
Who would choose that on purpose? I mean, maybe some people, in this day and age, it's a little bit easier to choose that.
Yeah. In the last decade, I'd say
when I was younger, it was not widely like I remember gay marriage being legalized.
Yeah.
So that was like,
yeah,
it was not accepted that way.
Right.
But anyway, I talked with my dad about it. He's like, let's have a talk with the bishop, see if they'll pay for the counseling, right? Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
They're not going to.
Well, the thing is...
Or it's going to be with like a Mormon counselor.
So I didn't even get that far because I went and had a talk with my bishop and I was like, hey, I'm having these questions about the church because gay people for one, and family being together forever, and why am I excluded from that? Like there's a few things where I was just like, this is not adding up for me.
Right.
And he was like, well, it's probably because of the friends that you're hanging out with at school. And you should probably start hanging out with more people from church when you're at school. And then we'll check back in. And like, to me, my friends that I had made at school that were not part of the church gave me a depth of friendship that I never gained while I was in the church.
Right. Because from what I have seen, it seems like very surface level friendship with like between Mormons.
Yeah. It's
like I've observed it. I've not
it's hard to take it unless if you're like a person with kids and a family where like the whole neighborhood can like get together type thing. It's weird to be spending individual time with another person, like to be like close friends. Like I said, unless if you're part of a family, like family friends,
right,
type thing. So yeah, I don't know. So that was like the beginning of the end for me. I was just like, okay, so this is your reaction.
Bullshit religion.
Like I'm choosing the wrong friends. Like if anything, it was kind of the nail in the coffin for me. I was just like, okay. But then it was a lot, like I had a lot of depression after that because I didn't know how to deal with anything. I still didn't have therapy. That still didn't happen for me. That's all I wanted out of it. And I got more questions than answers. So
that's so shitty. I had a similar experience. So like I said, I was saved when I was a senior in high school. And again, I only started going to church because I crashed my dad's truck.
Right.
Literally the only reason. He got really big into it. So there were a lot of things, and it was things like the similar, and this is just Christianity, right? Like one of the most widely accepted, at least Anglo religions, right? So like one of my friends at church is gay and like we had to like pray over him to like pray demons away, and it's like,
ew,
it's gross.
That's yucky.
It's gross. And like they don't want you to like have friends outside. It's the same kind of thing, and it's just
weird.
Like,
why am I supposed to, like, I'm supposed to be Christ-like, but I'm also gonna shun other people for believing differently than me? How does that add up? Like I had questions as soon as I could start thinking for myself, you know, and none of it added up. So I was not destined to stay in that religion. And at this point, like, it is kind of hard to see what like positive benefit has played in my life besides like the socioeconomic structure that it put me in.
Right.
Like really,
like all Mormons have money somehow.
That's what I'm saying. Like it made sure that I was growing up in like middle class.
Right.
That was really like the biggest difference, because it was a very like lonely household that I grew up in. It didn't feel like God was, you know, like living in, like it was, you know, I don't really see it. It feels like it caused more heartache than help.
Yeah.
But I'd imagine, because people bring up the idea of, are we like raising kids in a religion versus not? Because religion does help you find answers, quote unquote, to a lot of the big questions in life, right? Like if you're really scared of dying, if that's like one of your biggest fears, and clinging on to the idea of God and him having a plan, and he's gonna like
comforting, I guess.
It's comforting. And
it's
the
not
thing
like
is,
an answer. It's
well,
not like,
I can see in my grandparents, like, I'm not saying that this is necessarily how they got there, but to me, I think a lot of their religious devotion comes from an uncomfortability with how dark and twisted the world can be.
Oh yeah.
And they find solace in not living in the places that like focus on the dark and because if you think about it, I would say that like if you make church a big part of your life, it's going to take up your free time, right? If you don't, like you go out, you have social interactions with your friends, you go drinking, like bad shit happens to the people that you're around. Like
sometimes
worse shit is, I feel like worse shit is going to happen from like getting arrested or like Like those kinds of things are more likely to happen outside of
Oh yeah, for sure.
like a religious structure.
Right.
I don't know where I was going with that, but
Finding solace in living in not dark places.
Right. And not surrounding yourself by that. But the thing is, it just gets hidden, like deep underneath. They just don't acknowledge it.
Right. Like,
yeah.
Again,
there's a lot of ignorance that you have, like blissful ignorance that you have to accept as somebody who like holds on to religious beliefs to satiate the fears of life.
And that's like,
and that's not something I'm comfortable with.
No. And it's, so much bad shit lurks under religion, like child abuse or like spousal abuse, especially in Mormonism, where like the man is end all be all, like he's the law of the house, right? I think there's probably just like a clear difference in people who are like, yes, I can take this on faith alone and question it and not like see through other people's bullshit, versus people who can't, maybe. And I don't know what that difference, like, what comes down, what makes the difference between those people. But, like, I wouldn't be able to. No. Just because I don't trust other people, like, whatsoever. Right. I think most people are probably not good.
Right. You just assume that and then get kind of surprised.
Right. Well, like, I just assume most people are kind of shitty. Right. So like that way it kind of like tampers expectations about when people are shitty. You're just like, yep, well, that's a person.
That's a person doing the people thing.
Right. Like, have you ever noticed how little people read things? Yeah. You can have a sign posted at work.
Oh my God.
Here is the exact thing. And they're like, what about da-da-da-da? And it's like, it's on the sign right there that you could have read. It's right in front of your face. Yeah.
Literally, when we've had to shut down at work, there's literally like a sign that's like, hey, we're closed. And people will try the door like 4 times, peek in. Right. I'm like, dude.
Right.
If it's locked during normal business hours, maybe look for a sign.
Right. And that, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to say most people are shit. I don't think that they are. I think like everyone has good and bad within them, right? And that sometimes people just like are very unaware of other people or things. I don't know how to phrase it, but it's mostly I don't trust other people for the most part, except for people I'm friends with. Yeah. That's probably why I have no friends.
Yeah. No, I get it. It's hard to trust people.
Yeah. And it's like I don't even know how we got here. Yeah. What we're talking about. I don't know. I like Heath and I are the same, but also different in this is that we assume people are bad. But like I also like to see the good in people. Like I give chances where I probably shouldn't. Right. But I also think that like people can change and people can grow and things like not everyone is bad. Yes. You know? But some people are.
Right. Right. And you're not going to be surprised when you find out that people are going to do that. Whereas my grandparents are like, can you believe that somebody, I actually can. Yeah. I can believe that because this world is full of fucked up people that do fucked up things. And even if it's just for a moment, just one moment in their life, they live, 60 years and they did one bad thing in one moment in that time. And, it's interesting. It's interesting.
Yeah. And I maybe it comes from like, I have the kind of like heart where I can't do, like I would never be able to hurt someone. Right. Like unless they hurt like my dogs or Heath maybe.
You're like, make me turn into a mama bear and I'm gonna go off.
Yeah. But like, I don't, like I can't stomach violence really. I like would never like steal. I never stole. Like I think like a lot of teenagers go through a like shoplifting phase. Like I never did that.
Me either.
I one time found like a broken bracelet on the ground and at like a Claire's and I was like, I'm gonna take this. And it was probably like a piece of garbage. Honestly.
Right. They would have thrown it away if they found it before you did.
Exactly. Yeah. I think that's like the most. Oh no, I did steal a sewing needle one time from Walmart because I think it was a big sewing needle and it was like an unreasonable amount of money for one sewing needle.
You're like, that's bullshit.
Yeah, and it's Walmart. Like,
yeah,
the most
they'll
evil
make
corporation ever. Yeah, pay your employees more, maybe people won't steal from you.
Literally.
Yeah. But I don't even know where I was going with that. Rejection.
Rejection. So full circle back to rejection.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like there are things that parents are getting better about now. Like, another one of my bridesmaids is a very responsible parent, and it teaches her daughter like how to process feelings. And like, that way, when you feel feelings, it doesn't become like this overwhelming like meltdown, which is what I feel like. I have very large spikes.
No, I feel you.
Right?
I feel you. I feel like I am not emotionally resilient because I never learned how to
deal.
Yeah. How to actually just like have emotions and like watch them pass and sit in them and like do the thing.
Yeah, because parents never talked about it.
No.
Yeah. I imagine, even though we're like almost a decade apart, that are at least their parenting style, right, minus the God on my side, is probably pretty similar. Like, my parents cared, but it's stuff that like they were like, well, we didn't talk about that stuff then.
Right. We just didn't think about it. Right. It wasn't an important thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I would hope that people are better equipped for rejection now.
Going forward.
Yeah.
I hope so too, because it's a bitch. I don't like rejection.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't like it at all.
Yeah. One of the things that has helped but also hasn't really, but it's like, okay, like, have you ever heard the thing where like most of your like personal growth occurs outside of your comfort circle, right? Like, you have okay. So I do dog sports, right? It's really hard for me to not be good at things. Right. Right? Like, it's really hard for me. That's why I just don't do them. Yeah. Yeah, that's why I just don't do them.
Right.
So for me to go into a space where I'm like moving sheep around with my dog and have no idea what I'm doing and trying to learn and like do the thing correctly, especially with like physical activity, because I've never been especially athletic, it's really hard for me to be like, okay, knowing I run like Napoleon Dynamite and like what I look like running an agility course, trying to like flail my dog through it and do it correctly. But it's also been helpful, I think, in some ways, because I'm still going back to do it, because it's like, I want to conquer that challenge. Yeah. You know? Yeah. When I finally do trial, I'll probably be crushed when we fail, but we're not there yet.
It's fun.
Yeah. It's fun.
Right now.
It's fun. And my dog loves it. So
that's what matters.
Yeah.
That's what matters.
Yeah. And I like it. I do. I like because I have been so like crap about exercising since the wedding. I've really taken comfort in knowing that I'm like, at least like several days a week, I need to go run my ass around a course. Right. And like sprint.
And it doesn't feel like exercise when you're like
doing it.
Yeah.
No, as soon as you stop there, you're like
literally
pouring sweat. I'm like, okay, I just need a minute.
The next day you're like, why am I so that's why I'm sore.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. But it's fun. Yeah. And it's rewarding. And you feel like you actually worked out after you did it. And it's only like a minute of sprinting.
Right. Full speed.
Yeah. If I can. Sometimes I can't. I'm not very fast. But
it happens.
Yeah.
That's why the dog's the one running the agility.
Right. Right.
Well, on that note.
Yeah. Next question.
So in your experience, what is the antidote to loneliness? I almost wish it was a video podcast for that reaction where you're like, oh my God. Well, how am I going to answer that?
Yeah. Because I would say that, like, I think having a normal level of loneliness should happen for people. Like, you should experience that because you need to learn to be alone.
That's so important.
Yeah, it really is. Like, I feel like a lot of times people can lose their identity in relationships and that kind of thing, and that it's
Right.
important to be by yourself, to learn who you are and like what you like, and like not what another person likes, but like what you like.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's like this fine line, I think, between like doing that and like being truly lonely.
Right.
And like I think I'm not really lonely because I work from home, and he is always home.
Right.
So there's never really an opportunity for me. If anything, it's more like I'm going to go shut myself in the bedroom so I am alone. But no, I think it depends on like where your loneliness, it feels like there's a lot of different types. Like it could be a loneliness from having a lack of community. It could be a loneliness from like missing people. So my antidote, like for a long time, I didn't feel like I had any friends here. And I mean, I had like work friends, but not like,
that's different.
Yeah. Not
that's
like
acquaintances.
Yeah.
Basically.
Not like real friends.
Right.
So for me, getting Odin was like a huge like game changer in my friendship level, just because dog people can be really great. And so
they can be.
Yeah, they can be. They can also not be great.
Yes.
But being able to do activities with my dogs and meet people that way, and like you click with people,
right.
And like being able to, like, I've made some like 2 really close friends through dog sports that they actually came to my wedding. Like that's just by, you know, doing things and being like, oh, do you need help like doing farm stuff? I'm not good at it. Not farm smart, but I can like Vanna White my way through things.
There you go.
Yeah. They're like, here, hold the string. I'm like, okay, I got it. Like, do you need that thing? I'll go run and grab it.
Right.
Yeah. It really depends on where your loneliness is stemming from.
Right.
Like if it is, I know. So when I graduated college, I moved to Tucson from Maine, right, to do AmeriCorps. I didn't know anyone there. I had like one childhood friend who was there, who I stayed with for like a handful of days, maybe.
Okay.
And there was a period of time where I did get very lonely there. I got a cat.
Okay.
That's what I did.
That
Not
helps.
that I would say that that is like a great solution. But I think like if you are feeling that lonely where you have like a lack of community, then that's where you need to step outside of your comfort circle, right?
Yes.
Comfort zone.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm saying circle.
I mean, I could draw a circle around my comfort. So.
Right. And try new things and
Yeah.
things you're interested in. And like, that's the really only way to like defeat loneliness as an adult. Right. Like I met Heath by going to karaoke because I grew up loving to sing, and I was like, you know what, like I'm gonna try karaoke, and just started going frequently, and that's how I met him. Yeah, so like
that's a nice meet cute.
I guess it's a little like less straightforward than just that, but it's the distilled version. I think like if that's where your loneliness lies, then that really you need to push yourself.
Get out of there.
Yeah, exactly. Because if you just like sink into it, then you're not doing yourself any favors, and it's not going to stop. And I think there's a difference, and you need to like be able to distinguish like what the root cause of your loneliness is.
Yeah.
Because it could also be depression, right?
Right.
And like that is a different beast than just being lonely.
Right.
Yeah. Or if you're missing people, then like maybe like I guess that could also be like a lack of community. But if it's like someone who's like down the street, like
go.
Yeah. Yeah. Like set up time to go see them. Like,
over there.
Yeah, I don't know. I think when it comes to loneliness, that's like one of the things that you have to take action on.
Yep.
Because I don't know.
Yep.
I don't know.
Push yourself out of your comfort zone.
Right.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think that's a wonderful answer. And the dog, like having an animal.
Oh, yeah.
They really did help me. That's the second time that's been an answer where it's just like, you know, it's not a good solution, if you're not ready, to have
no.
the responsibility of an
Right.
animal, because like
Especially
if you're
a dog.
depressed and not taking care of yourself,
Yeah.
a dog isn't really going to fix that.
No.
It's just like there were a lot of times where I took care of my dogs out of spite.
Yeah.
You know, because I'm like, I
Spite
don't
to
even,
who?
I don't even want to like take care of myself.
Yeah.
And yet they're like, I mean, you hear them.
Yeah.
They're like,
Yeah,
I
you
have
can't ignore them.
needs
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you're going to meet them.
Yeah.
And like going through that kind of gave me a better perspective on my mom, how she kind of experienced motherhood. I can imagine. I kind of imagined putting myself in her shoes and just like the noise that happens. You know, you're not necessarily like tuning into it. It's just like, oh my God, turn that off.
Yeah.
Whatever that is, please turn it off.
Right.
Like, I don't want that anymore.
Yeah. That's
But
an interesting
that's
point of view.
I don't think dogs are a solution, but they can help.
I think a cat, if you're
A cat is a
like
lot
a living
easier.
plant, honestly.
Yeah.
They take care of themselves.
It's
they come
a
ready
lot
made.
easier.
Oh yeah.
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 As long as you're not allergic. And I was
Right.
allergic.
Yeah, that's
so.
fair. I waited a really long time to get a dog because I wanted to wait until I knew I could like financially support it. And
Yes.
it basically like I never wanted kids. I'm not gonna have kids, and having a dog was like my child.
Right.
So being able to like be responsible enough where I felt, and I think because I also can be depressed and like not want to get out of bed.
Right.
Like there was that summer that I was unemployed where Juno, her birthday's in July, and I had just gotten off an antidepressant, Wellbutrin. So I just like couldn't get out of bed. I was like, nah, I'm just going to stay here. Sorry. But it was her birthday. Like I wanted to do things with her.
Right.
I think I did it like a week later, but
right.
yeah. Haven't quite forgiven myself for that.
It's hard. It's hard.
But like the one thing I would say is that like my ability to take care of another being, like that was one of the things I thought about why I didn't want to be a mom, was like I can barely take care of myself. But
right.
like they would always come first. They would.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
So I don't question that anymore so much. It's just other things. And that's your perspective about talking about your mom. I don't know like what your relationship with your mom was like.
Right.
But is an interesting one because I've never thought about it that way.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. She was very reactive.
Yeah.
As a parent.
Yeah.
She was, well, yeah. I think that's a fair assessment. Just because she always had something else going on. She was like an assistant to other people.
Okay.
Here and there, like my grandparents, or like she had important shit that was going on.
Right.
That was in the household. I mean, you imagine a parent working from home.
Right.
Being a parent at home, like it's different when you have your kids there, you have shit that you're focusing on, like you have distractions that are happening that you don't have control over. And like I've learned a lot about her. I've like studied my mom at this point, just because I've had a lot of time to do it and try and like figure out how I ended up with the childhood that I had, like trying to make sense of all of it.
Right.
And also coming to terms with knowing she did her best, which is hard.
Yeah. I think, I don't know. I have a complicated relationship with my mom just because, similarly, you know, my mom was a single mom. And she and my dad divorced. I think I was like 10 or so when they finally divorced. But they split up earlier than that. Or maybe I was 12. I don't know. They split up and they divorced later. But growing up, she was also very reactive and got very angry about things.
Right.
But also we had like this level of neglect. Like my older brother has Down syndrome, right? Mm-hmm. So I think when I started, maybe it was around the age of 10, that I would be like left as babysitter.
Oh no. I was going to say you were parentified, weren't you?
Yeah.
I can feel it.
A little bit. Also that my, like, she was an alcoholic.
Same.
She doesn't drink anymore, but that does things.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And like having, there was just a lot of stuff. I have a lot of like stuff with my mom I haven't fully unpacked yet. Just also because it feels really heavy. I don't really want to. But I know I need to.
I get you.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard because you have to go back to be the kid again.
Yeah. And like really all I want is for her to acknowledge like, hey, I did some fucked up shit when you were a kid. I'm sorry.
Right.
Right.
I wish as a whole our parents would get better at saying that.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I knew that I don't know. They didn't have awesome role models is what my experience has been.
Yeah, same.
And their role models had even worse role models. Like I do actually, now that I have more of an adult understanding of the situation, I can see, okay, from what you were taught, what you were shown,
right.
You did
the best you could.
You did a better job than what your parents did in the things that you tried to change, you know, because each parent is like, I'm never going to let my kid feel this. Like my mom, she wanted to make sure that we felt lovable and loved because she didn't when she was younger. And so she very much did that. Yeah. Right. But then like meeting basic needs was like not always there.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so
where I almost feel like mine was probably the opposite.
Where it's like, make sure the basic needs are met. Outside of that, you're on your own type thing.
Yeah. I mean, I know my mom loved me, but like I said before, older brother was always the priority.
Right.
Which makes sense.
Right.
Yeah. There's also stuff there I need to unpack about being like the normal child, you know? But yeah, so basically like she had this boyfriend in high school where like I was in high school and she would just go and be gone for very long periods of time.
Like days or like hours?
I don't fully remember.
Just as a kid,
being
left alone. I think
mostly like full days. And like, but they would also like take my brother with them.
So it was just you?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah, sometimes.
Because it would be irresponsible to leave him alone?
Well, no, he would be left alone with me. I don't know. Probably because I was an asshole. Who knows? I don't
crazy.
know. Like, they would all go out to breakfast and I would get left at home. Yeah. Yeah. So I still have, like, feelings about it.
Fair enough.
Right. So, like, essentially the, like, story of that relationship. There was a period of time where, like, I don't know, I was a shit kid and, like, wouldn't do my chores, right? One time her boyfriend, who's significantly older than she was, like he was like 70 and she was 50.
Oh God.
Yeah. So he had called the house to be like, hey, is your mom there? And I was like, no, she's at your house. He's like, oh no, she left hours ago. I was like, are you serious? Like, then panicked about where my mom was all night.
Is she dead?
It was just like a trick to get me to do chores, which did not work. Right? Yeah. Yeah.
It was like, oh, your mom might be home any second type thing?
Yeah, really? Where I'm like, is she dead in a ditch?
Right.
Yeah.
That's the logical response to, hey, your mom said she was on her way home.
Right.
Especially because I imagine it was like a 15-minute drive with that.
Probably. I don't know. We lived in Maine, so it might have been a little bit longer, but there are feelings there.
Right.
And the, like, not being there.
Yeah.
You know,
no,
not that it mattered. I was a teenager. That's what bugs me the most. I feel like I should have been like, I shouldn't care about it.
Yeah. See, but that's a dangerous game to play with yourself because if you're still thinking about it, it definitely mattered. You know, it's easy to say like, oh, it didn't, like in the grand scheme of things, it didn't matter, but it did.
Right.
It did.
Yeah. No, I know like the first time I ever went to therapy was when I was getting treatment for ED in like my early 20s.
Right.
And someone said the phrase like, oh, neglect. I was like, yeah, I feel like that's too strong of a word. They're like, no, that's what that was. Like, oh.
It's a hard, that's a hard
yeah.
label to try and accept.
And that's not even like the biggest one of
Right.
like shit that can go wrong with parents and children. But
Right.
yeah, it was, I don't know. I don't even know why I'm talking about that.
Well, I mean, to realize that that's something that happened.
Yeah.
I didn't really see mine as neglect either. It was just like there wasn't a lot of food all the time.
Right.
You know, like we didn't have a distinguished bedtime. We didn't have structured, like we literally ran the household.
Yeah.
Like it was like we got to be nervous when mom's around because she might fly off the hinges. But outside of that, like we got free roam of the house, but we had a lot of cereal.
Yeah.
You know, because it wasn't like, and to hear, like, to think that could be considered like neglect is weird to me because I'm like, well, other people had it worse.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Like that's how I justify it, is that like, no, it can't be because like other people had it a lot worse than I did, but that's just, it's just the truth. Like when you look up a definition, it's like, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a hard thing.
It is.
It's a hard thing. And trying to give grace to your parent when there isn't any acknowledgement.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like luckily my mom has been like overly apologetic about the upbringing that we had and how checked out she was throughout it.
Yeah.
Obviously there's still like specific things that would be awesome to hear that I remember from my childhood that she will never. Yeah. Because there was alcohol involved, and I remember a lot more than she does. Yeah. And I didn't know that alcohol was involved. And so I was like, her in her right mind is like acting in this way when I wasn't actually seeing it through the full perspective, which is that she was intoxicated a lot of the time. And like if she blew up on us, she might not even remember the reaction that she had.
Right.
You know, or think of it that deeply because it's like you're a little bit numb when you're drinking.
Yeah.
You know,
if you're like coherent.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. I never thought about that either because I think it was like basically all of high school with my mom really just sucked. Mm-hmm. It was just, there was like no high point.
Right.
Because she was in that relationship and then they broke up because she got a DUI. And then like severely started drinking. Like it's definitely something that I'm hyper vigilant about and concerned about with everything. Like, yeah, I don't know. Picking my mom up after she fell downstairs or taking her shoes off and putting her to bed. Like memories I wish I didn't have.
Yeah. I'm glad that my mom kind of kept it to herself. She was very much a closet alcoholic.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it made it so that I didn't have all of the information to be able to process my childhood. I very much thought that she was doing this in like a regular, like sane state of mind.
And like, how old were you?
I was young. Like, I mean, my parents got divorced. I want to say I was 10 or 11. It was like 2007, I want to say, is when they got divorced. And I was born in, I was 10.
Okay.
I was 10 when they got divorced. And it's weird because I remember a lot of my childhood as being the like 2 years that I lived with my mom alone.
Interesting.
Like 2 years were like very distinctively like laid. Like a lot of the trauma, a lot of the things that I remember from my childhood happened in that time.
Yeah.
And she had a boyfriend for like 6 weeks, and the amount of like havoc that he brought into the situation.
Yeah.
I could have sworn he was with her for at least a year.
Interesting.
And it was between Thanksgiving and New Year's. That's how long it lasted. And it's just like, I don't know. Having a parent who is still trying to figure out adult life while raising a child, like dating.
Yeah.
I am a huge advocate for families like intentionally choosing to have children and like staying as a family unit, because I really do think that it has a significant impact on a kid to watch their parent dating somebody, like you, like having time set aside in your schedule to date to get to know somebody versus like dating to continue a relationship type thing. Like it's a big difference, and that's never going to be your dad. And then it complicates your child's life. Like if you can marry somebody and have kids with somebody that you plan to be a parent with for the rest of your life, you know, I don't know if a lot of people put that much. I think maybe people nowadays put more thought into it, but
maybe
before, like in the idea that my family grew up in, like my parents got married because they were pregnant. Like that was it.
Interesting.
It was like, okay, we got to do this.
Did they do like soaking? I know,
First
that's a
of
gross
all,
question.
I don't want to know the answer to that question. Second of all, probably.
Oh,
Third of all,
gosh.
I didn't even learn what that meant until I was at Tom's old roommate's house. And he was like, oh, yeah, docking or soaking. And I was like, what the fuck did you just say to me?
Yeah. So maybe it's not a real Mormon thing then.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
It feels like it would be.
I don't know.
I think I want to say I asked my bridesmaid about it, and she like gave me like clarity on what it was. She knew
about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Like it's like they lay there stationary and someone like jumps on the bed.
Right. Yeah.
I'm like,
so
gross.
It's not actually considered fucking.
Gross, though.
Right.
Just
like,
be
who's
normal.
The fool on the bed.
Just be normal.
Who's jumping?
Yeah. Like,
why are you there? Why did you agree to this? How good of friends are you with this couple?
That you're like jumping. And it has to hurt. Like, I can't imagine, because like losing your virginity is not the most pleasant experience.
Right.
I can't imagine someone just like hanging out there,
like
not
just laying
moving
on top of you.
Yeah.
Also, how do you? I mean, I guess if it's the first time you ever had sex, like staying hard wouldn't be the worst.
No,
or the
it probably goes
thing,
really fast. But it's not sex.
No, I think it is.
Yeah.
If it makes them feel better, thinking it's not.
I don't understand it, but
Mormonism.
That's interesting though that they were pregnant.
Yeah. So they never should have. So they were a child together.
Your mom was really young then.
No, she was 26. She was my age when she had her first kid, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, wow.
Well, yeah, I want to say that she was my age when she had my older brother.
Okay. Interesting.
My dad was like a year younger than her. And so it wasn't like a knocked up at 18 type thing. It was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's weird. I'm glad that they were married because I'm glad I had my dad for the time that I did in my childhood.
Yeah.
Not that he was like ever absent necessarily, but my mom became the primary parent when she shouldn't have.
Yeah.
My dad should have had. He was the nurturer. He was the like caretaker.
Yeah.
You know, it should have been flipped. But
my dad was always my parent also.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So not living with him, having to live with my mom, it was like, that's why I think it outweighs most of my childhood, is because it was just so not what I was used to, and with the lacking of the nurturing parent. Like there's this thing that I found today. I don't know if I can even use this clip, but I'm gonna play it real fast.
It's not the thing that happened.
Oh wait, hold on.
But it's the fact that it happened to you.
Okay. I can play it through the thing, but I'm not gonna put that much time into it because I just want to show you. I don't care if this stays in the podcast.
Okay.
The definition of trauma is not the thing that happened to you, but it's the fact that it happened to you without the presence of an empathic witness.
I was like, holy shit. Without an empathic witness.
Yeah. Interesting.
Which I very much like. I think that's why that part of my life was so traumatic, was because I did not have an empathic witness to what I was going through. My mom was not tuning in to how we were feeling. It was like, are they alive?
Yeah.
Like, have they hurt each other to the point where I have to like do something about it?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because what would that look like? Like, who would the witness be?
A parent is usually the choice.
Yeah.
You know, a parent who is there to like, oh my goodness, like you felt what at school today? Like, let's talk about it. You
I
know,
don't think I ever talked to my parents.
that's what
about
I'm
stuff.
saying.
Yeah.
Because you don't feel comfortable. You didn't build that like relationship with them. An empathic witness would be somebody who's there to like help you through those hard emotions of like, instead of, oh, you had a bad day. Well, I've had worse days, so you can suck it up.
Right.
Like, life sucks.
Right.
You'll learn that more as you grow old. Like, that's what a lot of us heard, was just like, you want to see what sucks? I'll show you a life that sucks, and it's not yours.
Right.
You know? Somebody to actually go and be like, oh my God, like, that's rough. That was a rough day that you had.
Yeah, I don't even remember talking to them about things like that.
Right.
I don't know. I'll have to think. Or I just forgot. You know, I like feel like there have been random sections of memory. Like I'll be talking to people and we'll reminisce about things. They'll be like, oh yeah, this one time that you randomly did this other thing that you have no memory of. I'm like,
you're like,
like, did I just like delete a section of my memory?
It
like,
happens. That's a trauma response.
But it wasn't even, it wouldn't even be a trauma thing though. It could just be like a random
the lack
memory.
of memory can be like a trauma response. Not even necessarily blocking out that memory, but like,
because it was like an innocuous, like,
right,
we were doing something random,
right,
memory.
Yeah,
It's just really weird, the things that I don't remember.
Mm-hmm.
But I also was like under the theory that I've deleted it out to like create more room for like learning things.
Right.
I don't know. I was like, that memory
I
doesn't
hope
matter.
that's why it happened.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know.
I have come to a similar place, at least thinking about my parents' and like how they were parented, and like both my mom, I have one grandparent, my Nana, basically my mom's side, they both passed away before I was born.
Oh damn.
But like pretty traumatically.
Oh wow.
Like my grandmother died from like complications from being hit by a car.
Oh my God.
When she was drunk.
Oh wow.
Yeah, like really bad alcoholic. And then my grandfather passed away when my mom was in the hospital with me because she was on bed rest. She had she was older when she had me. She was like 36. So she had placenta previa and had to be put on bed rest, and she was in the hospital for 100 days.
Wow.
And he died while she was in there by falling asleep with a cigarette. Yeah.
Like the house burned down type thing? Holy shit.
Yeah, how awful is that?
Holy shit.
And then there's like other traumatic things that happened to her that I know, like, if our I say our, but we're like different generations. But if our parents didn't discuss things like that, they sure as hell didn't back then. Right. Like my mom was born in 52.
Right.
So her, like when she was probably in her early 20s, I think, her sibling, she had a disabled sibling that I don't know. I can't remember exactly what his diagnosis was, but I think he had like leg braces. It might have been polio. I don't think it was though.
Okay.
And then another one. They were all at the beach together, and basically the one who was physically disabled ended up like panicking while they were swimming and grabbed onto the other one, and they both drowned.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Like some really awful things have happened to my mom. And I have grown like a better understanding for it. It's just such a complicated place to be like, I recognize that you've had a really fucked up life.
Right.
And I love you regardless. Like, you still frustrate the hell out of me though.
Well, you still want her to take accountability for being the person that like perpetrated that in your life a little bit.
A little bit. Like not like anything like that ever happened.
But at the same time, it's like the stories, I don't know, like the worst things that have happened in your life, or some of the I'm imagining, I don't know a whole lot about your life, but I'm imagining like some of the hard things that happened in your life were a direct cause of her actions, or like an indirect response with a way that she parented.
At least in childhood.
Right.
Yeah.
Some of the most like influential experiences that you had.
The memories that are still very clear.
Yes.
Yeah.
And like traumatic happen. And there's a place where you're like, I want you to acknowledge that you were that person to me.
Yeah.
I want you to acknowledge that also, like, alongside you being a person that was traumatized, you are somebody who traumatized.
Right.
You did that.
That would require having some sort of conversation about feelings.
Right. Right. Well, and it's hard.
Yeah. I think the deepest we've ever got with that was like, she found, I was storing alcohol for a friend when I was in high school, and she found it and like was drunk and yelled at me about how she doesn't want me to be like her. I think that's probably the closest we've ever got to having that. Maybe I might be forgetting. And I feel like I'm shit talking my mom. I love my mom. I do. She does frustrate me. And I think it's because I see elements of myself in her.
Oh my God.
Like her, or I guess her and me that I really dislike.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
I get it. I get it. I feel that same way.
Yeah.
It's things that I like. I know how I got that.
Yeah.
I'm looking at it and I was like, that was from my mom.
Right. Right.
That was my mom right there.
Right. Like, I do have ADHD, right? But I suck at organizing things. Probably mostly because I grew up in a household that was not organized whatsoever and very cluttered. Yeah. Borderline hoardery. Yeah. So it's like, I mean, I should give myself a little grace on it. I don't know. I'm really not a good housekeeper at all. Yeah. I'm awful at it. Yeah. And it's also sometimes it's one of those things I just don't see it like until it gets really bad. Just because I think that's my brain actually literally just doesn't notice it's like that until I'm like, oh crap, like that is just like a mountain of shit that I've piled in the same spot. I probably should disassemble it and put it in the appropriate places. Yeah. Or like when I was younger, I was very bad with money. I know that comes from my mom too. She basically spends money when she gets it. Right. It makes me sad because I don't know. Wish she had more money or that I could like help her more. Right. But I help her as much as I can. Yeah. I do love my mom. Yeah. And it's hard to know like that. She's such a kind person and like cares about people and is supportive and will listen. And, you know, she's very nice. She's like this hippie that lives in the woods, has long gray hair, you know. She loves just like walking around with her dog in the woods now. And that's like her stories she tells me is about her walking around in the woods and like the things she finds. That's beautiful. And it's kind of cute, right? That's cute. Yeah. So, and things are much different now. And part of me wonders like how much I will regret living so far away from my parents, like all of my adult life, because I haven't had the opportunity to reconcile those things.
I was going to say, I think a lot of it comes from existing and like having conversations with your parents as adults. Because something that I've learned is that my mom wanted to have those conversations. Yeah. But she didn't want to be the person to bring it up.
Interesting.
You know? Yeah. And I mean, she has brought it up before where like she had some time where she was very lonely. She like moved away, was living with my stepdad away from us for the first time. And she hit this like really deep, lonely depression when she was left alone like that. And she was like, I can only imagine that I made my kids feel like this.
Interesting.
And it was like the first time that she had a moment to just pause and empathize with a situation that we might have gone through. She's like, I've been checked out for like this whole time. Yeah. Like I just checked in and holy shit, this is what I did. And so there's some reflection that happened there, but a lot of the conversations that we've had, it's hard because a lot of the times we end up talking about her stuff, which talking to somebody who caused a lot of the hard shit in your life, hearing them talk about hard shit in their life, holding space for that, and then also not, like, knowing that it can't be reciprocal, right? Like, she can't hold space for me to share my trauma because she's part of it, and she's going to take it personally because she knows she's the one that caused it.
Right.
You know, like it's different. So
Yeah.
some of the conversations are hard to have, but I'm still glad that we're able to be vulnerable with each other and that she can
nice.
talk about stuff that's happened. I would like the conversations to go differently sometimes, where it's like she wants to bring it up just to hear me out type thing.
Right.
But at the same time, I don't even know what I'd say.
Yeah.
Like I like stop myself kind of midway through that, and I'm like, but what would I,
Yeah.
you know?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Way to bring it full circle.
Yeah.
Back to loneliness.
Loneliness.
Yeah. I've never fully like given thought to the fact if my mom was lonely or not.
Right.
I'm sure she was.
Yeah.
Like there's got to be a reason someone just starts drinking. Like yes, genetics.
Right.
Right. But I know she didn't have an easy life, and I do not appreciate it, but like recognize it, and I'm trying to
give grace for her lived experience.
That's a good way of putting it.
While also being hurt.
Yeah. Yeah, I need
Which
to go back
hard.
to therapy. That's probably what I need to do.
I mean, is your mom in a place where she could have a conversation?
I don't know. She was in town for my wedding, but I didn't get to spend a whole lot of time with her just because it was so busy.
Right.
And I feel really bad about that.
Yeah. I
Like,
mean,
and
that's a wedding is there. You're the centerpiece, and
Yeah.
everybody else is just kind of there for it.
Right. And I
So.
also got very frustrated with her several
Yeah.
times. I have very limited patience for her sometimes. And I'm trying to be better about it.
It's hard.
It's just this it's a very long story. But anyway, I think we're planning on going back east in a few months, and I might try to go spend some time up there in Maine with her for a few days.
Yeah.
Maybe if I can stand it.
I feel like it's worth testing the waters. I mean, for me, obviously, like I went into therapy when I was 16 or 17 because I was in a really bad relationship and like knew I needed help to figure out why I kept doing that.
Right.
And why I was like so tempted to stay in that. And that helped me get to a place where I could start having conversations with my family members about like, hey, we can actually talk about this shit. Like, I feel like I've opened up a line of communication in my family that would not have been opened up if I did not go to therapy.
Right.
At the same time, like, because I went so young and I've had conversations, I think maybe my family's been more willing to have the conversations, or maybe it's me being more willing to have the conversations or giving more grace, because I have had a lot of time to think about, like, if you would have asked me even 5 years ago if my mom was trying her best throughout my childhood, I would have said absolutely not.
Yeah.
Because how could she have? And I still had a childhood like that.
Right.
You know?
Right.
But, like, I've spent a lot of time just trying to give grace to her for the experiences that she had and the life that she's living, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is hard.
It is hard
to hold space for somebody that's hurt you.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways. And not taking accountability for
Right.
it for you to be able to move on.
Right. Yeah. I think the important piece is knowing it was like not intentional.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
She was just living. That's the crazy thing that I've noticed about my parents, is that they were just adults that were just like trying to, none of us have it figured out. Not a single one of us has it figured out. And even my grandma, who's like 82 years old, she's like, I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up.
Yeah.
And
oh, that's sad.
And it's like, I mean, it's kind of fun to recognize that all of us are just struggling. Like, when you were a child, like, your parents were not these all-knowing beings who were telling you how to behave because they know exactly how humans are supposed to behave. They were just trying to, like, save face in a moment and get you to, like, act right. You know? Like, it wasn't as deep as you thought it might have been.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's comforting to know no one knows what the fuck is going on anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No,
But it also kind of sucks.
It does. Like, you want to know.
Right.
Right. Right. That might just go back to being a perfectionist also, though.
Yes.
I think it always
wanting it to have an answer.
Yes. Oh, always. The last bout of therapy I did was a couple of years ago, and I kept talking about like, I just want to get to the place. Like, I want to get, like, there's some final place you end up, meaning like you've reached it.
Right.
You're at the epitome.
Right.
You're doing your best. And it's like, I didn't know what that was for me. And it's because it doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist.
No,
the limit does not exist.
Yeah. There's no like, okay, you've done it.
Yeah. It's an everyday type thing.
Right.
It's
Right.
like not even what did I accomplish today, but like, like it looks different. Success looks very different. And in the mind of a perfectionist, it's like, if I did not accomplish everything that I thought of today, I am a failure.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. It's probably why I don't think of
it's
doing
a terrible
much
headspace
day-to-day.
to have to live with.
Yeah.
But
It's really hard to let go of.
yeah.
Yeah.
Especially as a creative.
Yeah. Well, I don't even know if I can call myself a creative anymore because I don't.
Because you just shove it down.
Yeah, I don't do anything creative really.
Yeah. I would challenge that.
Maybe.
Okay, so the next question that I have is, how did you pick a career?
Oh God, I don't think I have picked a career. So I've done a lot of different things for work, right? And I want to say I've had like 3 different careers at this point because I don't think that when we're making choices of like, I'm going to go study this thing so I can decide my life path, like you even understand yourself enough at that point to determine what you want to be when you grow up.
Right.
And 2, like you said, like your grandma said, like, I don't think you ever figure it out.
Exactly.
Because you're constantly changing.
Yeah.
What I ended up doing, so I'm going to start, like, I graduated with my Bachelor of Fine Arts in Creative Writing, right?
Okay.
Like, I wanted to be a writer. I didn't know what that meant, like, what kind of shape that took, but that was, like, my goal until I went and did AmeriCorps after college, where
what is that?
AmeriCorps is, like, domestic Peace Corps. So it's like government funded, but you apply to like a volunteer position and you go and work for a nonprofit and like make a living stipend.
Okay.
But it's like, I think at the time, so this would have been 2010, it was like $800 a month. It's like something, it was not a lot of money at all. No.
So you can like barely eat,
Yes.
but you'll at least have.
No, a big thing with AmeriCorps, they're like, okay, so we suggest you get food stamps and state health care, which is what you do because you make $800 a month.
Right.
And the money you're making, it's a stipend, so it's not considered actual money. It's like,
so you don't have to pay taxes on it?
right.
That's nice.
Right.
At
You do,
least there's
however, once you do AmeriCorps, you get an education award, and it's like, then it was like 5,000 something that you can apply to education costs. So I could pay loans with it, but you have to pay a crap ton of tax on it.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Don't even get me
Okay.
started
They
on
get
student
you
loans.
eventually.
Yeah. So I did AmeriCorps, working in nonprofit, and really liked it. And was like, I don't know if I want to do writing anymore because I had been in the process of applying to graduate school, which I still want to go back to school at some point. But do I know for what? No. Because sometimes I still think I want to do that. Then other times I'm like, you know what? I really would like to like study psychology, even though I have like no background in psychology.
Right.
So I'd have to start first getting like the prereqs done for psychology and then head into a different. And then I'm like, I don't even know if that's what I want to do.
Right.
Then I was working in nonprofits for a few years. And it was really hard actually working in nonprofit. And I feel like I was not valued as an employee.
Okay.
And I also had undiagnosed ADHD and was really struggling. Like my early 20s, like I don't know, 26 was a shit show, and I would never want to go back. Like, I feel like I learned a lot, but I also went through the ringer with it.
I would very much like to like put a pin in that and like come back because I want to hear what that experience was.
God.
But I want to hear the remainder of
so
what you're saying.
I work for nonprofits, and I coordinated a youth mentoring program, and then I was an event planner. Then I actually got fired. I have a lot of like job drama, like, and trauma with losing your job because of being a perfectionist and how much I put into work. Like, I feel like one of those people who, even if I won the lottery, I would not be able to not have a job because I find a lot of like personal value in my job,
making yourself useful
and like
at work,
getting like recognized for it. I don't know.
I get it.
Yeah,
I get it.
I would, if I could be paid to be a student for the rest of my life, I probably would do that because I love to learn, and I also like to be recognized for being good. Right?
Yeah.
Like, it's such a awful thing. But anyway, I after that worked for a propane company. That's the one that I was laid off from, and I was with them for like 7 years. Again, being laid off, it was like, it had nothing to do with my performance. It nothing. It was mass layoffs.
It was
like,
nothing you could have controlled.
No. Like, I was in a department of 24, and they kept 2 people.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and that was like in addition to many other layoffs they were doing at the time. So I don't even know what criteria they used to keep people, because the people they kept was like kind of random, it seemed. But from that, I was like, okay, I know like what I've learned from that job was that, because I always thought I was kind of shit. I had been fired, right? From like kind of 2 jobs.
Yeah.
So and this is not, I forgot to say, when I coordinated the youth mentoring program, I was not fired. It was like a mutual agreement that I shouldn't work there anymore, which
that
sounds,
makes sense.
I don't even know if it does. But the, what I learned from working at AmeriGas was like, no, I am actually a good employee, and I can like do good work, and I just need a challenge and something like, I need to be busy.
Right.
Like, you can't just like let me just do whatever I want because of the ADHD. Like, if I have shit to do, like, I am the best employee. If I'm not, I'm like, oh, this sucks. I don't want to be here because there's nothing to challenge myself with.
I totally feel that.
Yeah.
I need to be busy at work the whole time.
Yeah. Or it's like, it just
I'm just
drags.
watching the clock
the
whole time.
Yeah. Agreed.
I would much rather not be there at all.
Right. Yes. I'm like, why are you paying me to be
all
here
8
right
hours should not feel like all 8 hours.
Yes.
At work.
Yeah. Yes. So I decided that I at first was like, I can do anything. I still feel like I could go and do anything. That it didn't matter if I had experience or not, because which sounds really shitty and like full of myself, but I knew that I liked working with people, and I like to learn, and I was like, I can learn really quickly and like do well really quickly, probably also because I'm a perfectionist.
Yes.
So
yes,
I didn't have like a strategy for what I want to do. I just applied to any job I thought looked good, which I don't recommend anyone doing. You have to really target what you want.
Yeah.
So I decided I was going to apply for a job in tech, because I felt like a tech job is a little bit more sustainable than like one built on fossil fuels.
Right.
Then from there, I did a little bit more research and learned about like different types of things I could do, and customer success is where I ended up. And I still don't know if that's like my career.
Right.
It's more like, and that was, okay, so we were talking about like the finish line, the place where you end up.
Yes.
And I feel like the career, like choosing a career is part of that.
Yeah.
And that was a hard thing for me to let go of.
Right.
But
not
also,
knowing what you're going to do for the rest of your life.
right.
Yeah.
Because I'm also like, would I want to do one thing for the rest of my life? Like, I don't know.
I think I'd get bored.
Right. Like, I haven't fully given up on writing a book ever.
Right.
You know?
Right.
I just have to get over some shit first.
You've gathered that tool. You
Yeah.
can use it eventually.
Yes. Yeah. And I feel like I've done so many different things. And I can't say, obviously, I kind of like got let go from my 2 nonprofit jobs. I'm probably not cut out for working in a nonprofit.
Yeah.
Or at least I should work probably more in a male dominated field than one with women.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah. So I at least like am able to working at Amerigas, I learned that as long as I have a challenge, like I will rise to the challenge.
Yeah.
And if it's something that captures my attention, like what I'm doing now, it is very challenging because I went into this role that like kind of requires like some programming knowledge that I have more of now than I did then.
Right.
But just the fact I was able to sell myself with like no experience, being like, I know I can do this, and have been doing it and doing it like pretty well, you know. I was recognized as a high performer last year.
Yes.
So, but I can't
I
say
think that is important.
Yeah. I know. I still love to like get a that-a-boy.
Yeah.
That-a-boy, attaboy?
Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
A little pat on the back from the company.
Yeah.
A little recognition.
Right.
Same.
I feel like
Perfectionism.
Right. Yes. And I think ultimately where I would like to end up is doing something around like people's work lives. I was looking at organizational psychology, which like the psychology behind work, because I feel like if more companies invested in their employees and like gave a shit, like they would find success there. And it doesn't necessarily like you can invest in your employees, like it may cost some money, but like ultimately your bottom line will reflect that because happy employees do good work, right? And they will make you a profit. Yeah. There's this guy, Simon Sinek, he has this really interesting video I'll have to send you about if you're interested in it. Because it talks about like this circle of safety, and like when people are cared for and listened to and respected, then they feel included in that and they do better work, and that it will like end up benefiting your organization.
Right.
It's just a hard sell in a shitty corporate world.
It is.
That's run literally by conglomerates of corporations.
Well, and that's capitalistic to the point where they're more worried about the dollar amount that they're getting at the end of the year and that it's bigger than last year, which is crazy to me because there's these companies that have been around for like 70 years that are consistently making money hand over fist year after year at the expense of their employees who are barely making ends meet.
Right.
You know, I'm saying this as one of them.
Yeah.
Like, it's a hard thing to be in a place where they have so many resources to actually live out the mission that they preach, and yet like it just doesn't happen. Yeah. Like the idea is in the right place, but the execution needs work. Right. Like the slogan is nice. Let's figure out how to like
let's just
make
not do
it
it
work
for show.
On a on a scale. Yeah. So
the one thing I will say is that everyone should look, if you're looking for a job or like hate the company you work for and want to work somewhere better, is a great place to work. I think I told you about this already. Yes. Because so like my company is profitable. Like we beat our budget for the year. So your like budget is your goal, which is already going to be higher than what you made last year. Right. And we like came in above that, but like I know my company at least like takes good care of me. Right. You know, like it's small, but like has great benefits, and like and people are happy. I get to work from home. Yeah.
Which is really nice.
If I worked on site, like I would have access to a on-site gym that's there, and they have like an Olympic-sized swimming pool. Yeah. I know, it's really fancy going back to headquarters. Wow. And I really like the company I work for. I do.
Yeah. No, that's way cool. Yeah. I think that's important. I think that's more important. I guess it kind of depends on the person that you are. To me, it's very important that I feel that I belong in a place. Right. That I'm valued. that my contribution means something, not just to the corporation, but to the people that are in the corporation. Like, to me, I very much value the contribution that I am able to make to a person, a company, a relationship, like straight up, like I just want to be a positive addition to whatever I'm doing. And so in a job setting, that is so important to me, to find somewhere where, even if it's not something that I like would have pictured my career being, if I'm being treated well, if I'm making an impact with what I'm doing, if I'm being challenged.
Yeah.
In like, I don't know. I don't like being, I don't know. I'm not, I don't love learning. I don't love learning. Me and Tom are kind of the same kind of perfectionist, where it's like, I want to do it perfectly right off the bat. I don't want to have to learn the skill of how can I do that. I want to do it. And if I can't do it, then I feel bad about myself.
Right.
Because I can't do it.
Interesting.
So I'm not like, I want a challenge, but I don't want it to be like constantly learning a new thing all the time. I like knowing that I can be good at something and like perfect what I'm good at, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, it does. You know, I've never thought about it that way, because I don't know why. Because I do love to learn and do new stuff. And I know I'm not going to be good at it. But I think, you know what? Probably because one of the skills I am really good at is researching and learning quickly. So it's like, probably that's why.
That would make sense.
Yeah. And I have developed this, like, I need to learn everything about this one thing so I know a ton about it. That way,
so you're prepared for a conversation or being quizzed about it in the real world.
Right.
If someone calls your bluff about knowing something about it.
Yes. And I am kind of relentless in finding the answer to the question.
Yeah.
And that's been, I guess, a theme of my whole life, is having the question and needing to find the answer. That, like, I will find the answer.
Yeah.
It is really weird. Yeah. But that's probably why I don't hate it.
Right.
Is because
no, that makes
it's using a skill that I'm already a perfectionist about.
No, that makes a lot of sense. Maybe.
But yeah, I don't know if you ever do choose a career. If someone does, I would love to know, like, how you got to your end goal.
Right. And like, is it the thing that you like love to do?
Right.
Like, because I think a lot of people find something that they don't hate to do.
Right.
Where it's like, okay, it's good enough.
Right. Because then, like Heath, for example, like, is an artist and was going to be a tattoo artist. And then very quickly, and he loves it, but very quickly realized, like, it would take his love away from it. Right. So, like, where is that line?
Right. Between turning your passion into your job.
Right.
And still being able to keep the passion of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
I think it would very much come from, you would have to get paid for the artist that you are, not the artist that somebody else wants you to be. Because, like, if you do commission pieces, somebody want it. Like, with being a tattoo artist, like, that would be a little rough, because you're tattooing what other people want on their bodies a lot of the time.
Right.
I mean, obviously, there's some people that will come in and give you free reign to do whatever you want and put your creation on there. But a lot of the time, it's like, I want a custom tattoo where I come to you with this idea and you bring it to life. Right. And if it's not something that he's interested in, it kind of takes the joy out of it, because you're not being commissioned to do your art style and what you like to do art of. You're being commissioned to do what somebody else wants.
Right.
So I would get that.
Yeah.
Like,
and I think it was not just that. It was also, like, working with other people and like,
it's a permanent thing. Yeah. Like, that's high stakes.
And tattoo artistry is really weird, because you have to go and, like, apprentice. And people, they're real weird about their apprentices.
Yeah.
Apprentices.
Yeah.
I don't even know. Did I say that word right? Apprentices.
Yeah. I'm like picturing the apostrophe. Like, where does it go?
I don't know. I give up on that. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know how you choose a career. I have no idea. I don't. If someone knows, please tell me.
Yeah. Put it in the comments.
Yeah, right.
Enlighten
Let
us.
us know.
All right, well, let's move on to the last question, which is, what has it been like to be in a long-term relationship?
Oh, wow. You know, I don't even know how to answer that question. We have been together, so it'll be 10 years in September. And I would say, like, Heath is the person who, like, somehow knows me better than I know myself sometimes. I'm like, he does things. He's like, oh, yeah, because I'm like, how did you even know that? Like, how have you made that observation about me? And I didn't even know it yet. I think there's definitely struggles, and we are very different in a lot of ways, but we're also similar in a lot of ways, and like balance each other out quite a bit. I don't know how you answer the question. How has it been? I mean, it's good. We got married, so
Yeah.
I think, like, it's hard. Okay, so when I'm gonna, like, we never went back to the thing about early 20s. It's fine. We don't need to talk. We can talk about it some other time. So I think about every year at work, we have to do a self-review, right?
Okay.
And then we write up our self-review, and then our manager writes up a review, and then we have a, like, discussion about it. And every time, because I had to do it twice, even though I've only been there I started in August of 22.
Okay.
So I started, like, right within the cutoff time where I had to do it. Like, September, right? October.
1 month in.
Yeah. So this year when I was doing it, I finally had, like, a full year behind me, and I realized when I got to it, because it was literally right before the wedding, and I was shit. I knew I was, because I was so stressed out.
Right.
That, and I think it maybe is like a neurodivergent brain thing where you are just focusing on the biggest, loudest thing in front of you and forgetting everything else good you've done. I'm also very hard on myself about everything.
Yeah.
So, like, long-term relationship wise. So, like, writing my review, I'm, like, only focusing on the shit within, like, the last month that I feel like I've been doing terribly.
Right.
And it's really hard for me to see
anything past that.
Yeah. So, like, long-term relationship wise, I feel like I do a similar thing where, like, I pick apart myself in how we've been. Like, for, like, the past few years, I've really struggled with, like, libido stuff. Like, that's why I think, especially struggling with seasonal depression this year, is because I went off an antidepressant. I was on 2. I went off one last year, and it's just, but it hasn't super helped. So, and I don't know, like, where or why that is, and that's something I don't know what it is. If it's, like, a self-worth thing, or it's definitely not a relationship issue. That I do know.
Right.
There's something, I think, whether it be chemically or emotionally, that's, like, preventing that. But I really hate it that that's not existing, because, like, I love him and I want to make him happy, right? So, like, I don't know. That's what I'm thinking in my head right now. That's what I'm struggling with.
Right.
But otherwise, it's great. Like, I think, like, we just watched this movie last night. We went to the movies, and we're talking, like, the girl and the main character was like, oh, yeah, we never fought. So that's why I knew we had to break up. Okay. I was like, we never fight, though. Like, I think we've had disagreements, or, like, times where we got heated with each other.
Right.
And by we, I mean probably me getting heated with him, because I do have spikes of rage.
Right. He seems like a pretty mellow dude.
Yeah, he is. And, like, the hardest thing for me was to trust that he would tell me if he was upset about something. I still, and that was like a hard transition starting to work from home because, like I said, he talks all the time to himself, and I hear him, and like when he like curses my name for not rinsing off a plate or something, you know, like I can hear him mad. It's really hard for me to like
not internal. He's just he's vocalizing his thoughts.
Yes.
He's straight up just thinking out loud.
It's hard for me not to like be like, I'm sorry. Are you mad at me? Right. Because that's just a thing that I have done that I am slowly letting go of. I think I've gotten better. I don't know for sure though.
Right.
But yeah, it's weird to think about that we've been together for that long because it doesn't feel like it, you know, like he is the one person that I feel like I could always be around who has never exhausted me. Like I am not what I would describe as an extrovert at all.
Right. Agreed.
Yeah. Same. He's like the person that I don't fully, like I can be around him and recharge. There are some days that I do want to just be by myself.
Yeah. No, I get that. Yeah. There's some people that will always be draining. And then there's some people where it's like, you know what? I needed this. This actually put something back into me.
Right.
Yeah.
And he's just, I don't know. Something has just always worked, even though it doesn't seem like from the surface level it should make sense because we are very different.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I hope I just give him as much as he gives me. That's what I worry about mostly. Yeah. I don't know. Do you and Tom like discuss your relationship?
Always.
Oh, like how?
Like that's like one of my love languages, I would say, is just like conversing. Yeah. Like having deep conversations about stuff. Also, I used to be very comfortable in anxiety. And I've learned that like when I get anxious, the way to turn it off the quickest is to figure out what's making me anxious for one and then like talk about it. Yeah. So like for instance, if I'm feeling anxious about something that is happening in mine and Tom's relationship, I have to air that shit out. Right. Like I have to bring it up or I'm going to continue to be anxious and I don't like that anymore. Yeah. Like I used to get like high off of anxiety. I loved it. Yeah. Because it was like I had some kind of control. I could force myself into anxiety. Like I could cause situations that would make me anxious and I like enjoyed that. But now it's like so uncomfortable for me. Interesting. I do anything that I can to like turn it off in a healthy way. Yeah.
I wonder if that's like an ED thing.
Maybe.
Because I know like part of how I dealt with anxiety was like purging, right? And like maintaining control over like what I ate and what I did.
Right. I very much think that anxiety is caused in my life because of a lack of feeling like I'm in control of like what's happening. Yeah. And that's why I think like figuring out what I am in control of and bringing it up with the people that matter. Yeah. You know, obviously if something between me and Tom is making me feel anxious that I need to talk about. Right. Like there's times I'll say one thing that has been somewhat of an issue in our relationship. Not like an issue, but something that we've had to talk about multiple times is like he doesn't initiate as much as I do, right? And when I am like getting close to my period, I get like very sensitive about like, am I attractive to you? Like, do you still want to be around me? Like, I want reinforcement that he wants me. And like, there's been many times where he like kind of acts like I'm out of order for a week. Every time that I'm on my period, like nothing down there works anymore. Right. And like we just don't do anything for a whole week out of a month. Yeah. And there was this time I had this birth control. I took the mini pill, which I highly do not recommend to anybody because it was terrible. Okay. But it was basically like my periods were flipped. So instead of having 1 week where I had a period, I had like 1 week where I did not.
Gross.
Yes. And that's so like that whole time, like we were not having sex at all. Yeah. Like he was not initiating it. Like I was closed, you know, like that's how I was being treated. And that's something that we've had to navigate because like, I think his mom kind of instilled in him this like respect thing where it's like you kind of just let her do her thing, you know?
Yeah.
Like, don't be saying some shit of like, oh, are you feeling pissy? Or, you know,
Right.
like,
Yeah.
like be sensitive in that way and to kind of like tiptoe around it. And I think that's the message he got.
Yeah. I don't know. They're back. We're pretty much done.
Yeah. Well, thank you for being on.
Yeah. Sorry.
We need to do this again.
I know,
Don't apologize.
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, this has been really fun.
Yeah.
That's our call.
Yeah.
Catch us next time.
Yes.
Mental Odyssey is a Dream and Do podcast, produced and edited by yours truly. The music is owned by Chill Hop, and this song is Velocities by Sleepy Fish. Go check them out. Thanks for being here.